All righty, let's get started. We'll add people as they come in. I'll do my best to monitor the chat a bit as well. So let's just take a quick look at the markets today. It is Monday, June 5th, 2023. I want to take a look at the markets, see where we are, and then we'll take a look at a lot of individual stocks. Again, a handful of plays that I'm looking at. We can determine the exact setups as we go through them. So let's take a quick look. So right now we're up on SPY here. Hopefully you can see the chart. This is a weekly and a daily chart. So this is pretty much what we're going to look at most of the time on these. Gives me two good time frames. So here's SPY, and on the weekly we are getting quite a bit overbought on RSI. MACD is not quite there yet. And then stochastic momentum is getting pretty overbought. And again, we can stay overbought, as you saw back here, in 2021. It can stay overbought for months at a time. But normally we're only in this range, for maybe a month or something in there. We've been overbought now, or at least in this range since April. So this is getting long in the tooth. And so we'll see what happens on these on here. We are running up into this, what I consider a resistance area in here. Also on this daily chart, I know there's a lot of lines and it's probably difficult to see some of it for you, but this is a 3 ATR band, this upper yellow, bottom red, and that's we're now into a resistance area, and we're hitting the 3 ATR range on the SPY. You're seeing a squeeze firing today. MACD is running higher, stochastic momentum is running higher. Nothing's really begun to tip over, so you could have some more legs on SPY here. We'll see what happens on it, but it is oversold. It is overbought. It's getting to the point where at some point I think you're going to have to come on back down to this 21 and maybe bounce and continue to go higher, but I think it needs a break at some point in time. However, that time does not seem to be yet. Now you are seeing today this little bit of a candle forming up in here. So we've hit the top of my range that I have here and a little bit past the ATR, the 3 ATR move. And we're off of the highs of the day, but it doesn't mean a whole lot of anything at this point in time, early in the day. But I think SPY getting a bit overdone at this point. QQQ here is a different story. In my opinion, this is a lot more overdone. You can see it's been in a long monthly squeeze. Really, it triggered the squeeze back here on 327. So that's a lot of months or weeks. I'm sorry, a lot of weeks to be in this squeeze. Normally, again, it's about an 8-bar is your average squeeze. So where you're getting long on the weekly charts, and you're getting as high, overbought as we've been on this thing dating back a couple years now. So I think we're pretty well into that overdone territory on the weekly. And if we look over here on the daily, here's that 3 ATR range, this yellow, light yellow here. We've been over this for over a week now. And you've still got some upside today. So, NASDAQ, QQQs are up, NASDAQ is up again today, hitting the top of this, hitting our high and maybe even breaking through it a tad. This is just in a long squeeze breakout, but MACD might start to be weakening here. We'll see. Stochastic momentum, we hit a high back here on May 19th. We are not there yet. So we've hit a new high here, but we have not hit a new high on the stochastic momentum. That could be a little bit of a divergence there too. RSI, we're pretty much at it, but maybe not quite as high as we were. So maybe a little divergence. I think tech is the area most likely to potentially correct here. So we'll keep an eye on Qs. And then IWM, so on the small caps here, this thing has been not rallying like the others have. You've got the financials in here, so it's been slower to move. You're really getting into this tighter and tighter range. However, it has made a pretty good run as of late. You had this squeeze reversal. It's actually moving into a squeeze here. We're getting ready to, but you've seen a reversal here, reversal on MACD, on the weeklies, and I think you are right here about 182, so about 3 points away on the IWM from a weekly PSAR reversal signal. So I think we really have some good momentum potentially building up here on the small caps. If we take a look at the daily, we're nowhere near the oversold ranges of that 3 ATR that we were on the other two, the SPY and the NASDAQ. And you have your PSAR reversal here, breaking through this area that's been resistance in here, strong on Friday, pulling back a bit today on it. But I don't think anything major at this point in time. I think, maybe it got a little ahead of itself, pull back a tad, and I think we've got good, strong upside potential on IWM. All right, let's take a look at some of we'll skip through futures. We'll get into oil futures here. Now, this thing has been just on this downtrend play for a while now. So since about the middle of last year, since about June of last year, oil has just been moving lower from that high of 120. And if you really want to go back a little even further, you can go to that 130 high from last March that we hit on the weekly here. But you had a good strong 4-week move down, and then we've started to recover a bit on oil. So I think oil's just a good spot on oil here for strangles and other trades that we have on. We have some 112 straight trades on oil that are doing really, really well. So those are doing fantastic. I think that's a perfect play in here. You can see on the daily chart, we're almost halfway in between, the 3 ATR. So we're really in a good spot to write some strangles, but you've got a PSAR reversal today. You had the OPEC meeting this weekend. You got the Saudis looking at some price cuts, or some production cuts, I should say. So some production cuts from the Saudis. You've got summer driving season. China really hasn't been the driver that we thought it would be. However, it's still a factor. So I still think oil goes higher over the summer here, and I don't think they're going to let this price drop and stay in that 60s too long. So big move up, and then gave a lot of that up so far today. But you'll see us maybe pull back to this 21 EMA here around 72, and let's see if we can bounce higher and then maybe break this downtrend line. But we are in a squeeze on oil with stochastic momentum pointing up, MACD pointing up. So this is a pretty good reversing here, crossover on the histogram. I think you're in a good spot on oil to be a bit bullish. I'm still hanging into strangles here. Some 112s would be fine on oil. Gold. Gold's been on a tear along with the markets since about November of last year. Gold's been moving higher in this nice stair step, hitting some new all-time highs just a couple weeks ago. Had a pretty good sell as the market rallied a bit. But if we look at the dailies here, we're in a PSR bearish signal. We're just meandering around, but you've got stochastic momentum moving higher. You've got the squeeze reversing, moving higher, and then you've got MACD moving higher as well. RSI is over 50 or close to it. It's 47, so we're not quite at that 50 range yet. I think it's just going to meander around in this area until something major happens to the markets. I'm not bullish. I'm not bearish. I think you just continue to write strangles on gold here, and you wait to see what happens in the market. If we get a pretty good sell-off or something that happens, then I think that's when you'll see gold take off. I expect a sell-off of some piece, and I think at that point maybe gold moves higher. But right now, just kind of hanging in there. I'm going to skip over hogs. We'll take a look at the bonds. Taking a look at ZB here. Again, been in a range for the most part, broke down on this the last couple weeks, and then started to get a little bit of a rebound. Here, it's a little bullish on the daily, and I think it's oversold on the weeklies here. Doesn't mean it can't hang down here for a little bit longer. So I think bonds, stay down a bit as interest rates continue to climb. And then so you get the ZB, and then you've also got the 10-year here as well, pretty much the same type of chart. Still in a little bit of a bearish tone until this thing resolves one way or the other. So for now, they're bearish until we break this trend line, but we're really floating right around these moving averages, which are really bunched up. So again, I think ZN, ZB, these are good spots for strangles on bonds. Corn has been in a pretty significant downtrend since the middle of last year, really. We hit lows, we rebounded, but you're really trading between the 700 and 570 range. In here, you're right in the middle of that range. So I think, even though it's a pretty good gap to fill and some hard selling here, corn's doing okay. It's just moving around, but I've got, I didn't want to strangle it because it can move for me a little bit more. So I do have a 112 trade on. That's up, 68% in about 14 days or so on corn. Same thing with soybeans, which has been a lot weaker trade due to Brazil and some of the other factors on soybeans. But you can see we are in such a long squeeze down here. And now I think we're just really, really, really got oversold in this area here. And you can see we've been in this area before on the weeklies in this, 1285 to 1300 range in here. Well, that's where we came back here. And now we're reversing off of this area once again. PSR positive reversal. So maybe we've seen the worst of soybeans. Don't know yet. Not going to catch a falling knife, but we have a 112 trade on in here as well. That we've had on for about 6 days, pretty flat so far as we've moved up. So it's all good on soybeans. Nat gas, we made some really good money on this over the course of this year, selling 112 trades on here. We're back down to these lows towards, again, the 2.1, 2.2 range. Is it getting overdone? I don't know. This is not a good time for me to want to test out nat gas again. I think it could go lower in the current term. However, it's really been in a pretty tight range. You probably could have strangled this and done really, really well. And the 112s have done really well. I just don't know that I want to keep testing fate with those. Here on the euro, on the weekly, we've been, moving higher. Let's take a quick look at the dollar. So on the dollar, we hit some highs back here in October, and we've been selling off, and it's exactly the opposite here. So as the dollar strengthens, then the dollar euro, the euro dollar futures weakened. So here, as the dollar has been weakening, this has been moving up a bit, but now you got the dollar potentially on the weeklies here gaining some strength over the last really 4, almost 5 weeks here. We've moved up higher on the dollar, but it's starting to flip over on MACD, the squeeze, and stochastic momentum. So dollar momentum has reversed. You can see the PSR reversal here 4 days ago, or I should say 3 trading days ago. Back on the first last week is when we flipped over to more of a bearish signal right now, and that's certainly paying off on the euro. So we've seen a little bit of a flip exactly to the upside. And we got really close. If not, we hit one, two, three, and a little bit of a breakthrough here on this 3 ATR range piece. So I think the euro was a little bit overdone and due for a bounce here. I don't know how high that bounce goes, but for us, it's all good. We have strangles on in here. It doesn't have to do a whole lot of anything. We're up, 31% in 14 days. We just need this thing to hang in here for another week or two, and hopefully close this one off for another strangle winner. And then the Aussie dollar, very similar. It's been heading lower, 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 lower. Just been in this bearish trend for a couple of years now, but a lot of sideways move until really a week or so ago when we broke lower. But this is also reversing higher right in here, and we're sitting on a strangle. We closed one for a winner last week, and then we've got another one that we're 12 days in. We're at 16% on this one as well. So Aussie dollar been a good strangle. Became really close to this oversold 3 ATR. Here we're getting back in the middle and trying to break through the 21 EMA. So that's where we are. And then if we look at the British pound as well, the 6B futures. So on these, on the British pound futures, we've had a nice recovery on these, and I think getting some good move action. This has been a good strangle opportunity as well. So I think these continue to look pretty good for strangle opportunities. Really just keeping an eye on this on the US dollar. So as the dollar weakens, you're seeing some of these things have strengthened recently. But we'll keep an eye on that. All right, so let's jump out of futures, jump into some of the sectors really quickly, and I want to get through these because I want to get to some stocks. So let's take a look at the XOK. You are very overbought here on the technology sector. So on the XLK technology sector, Microsoft and Apple are your two big drivers in here. Starting to flip over, weaken a little bit here. So I just, again, think technology is just a bit overdone here and due for a pullback. You've been in this solid squeeze for way too long. MACD is starting to roll over, and stochastic momentum is starting to weaken here. And even on the weekly charts, way too long in this bullish run, and maybe a little bit of a curve happening on both MACD and stochastic momentum. As we break through some of this resistance area here, we're way above the 3 ATR range. So I just think this, and we're pretty far away from this 21 EMA. The first target for me would be, hey, come back, bounce off the 21, and you can keep going higher after that. Taking a look at the XLY, and that's the next piece, and that's made up of primarily Amazon and Tesla. And the XLY is your consumer discretionary. Again, popping up towards that 3 ATR, but you're in a squeeze, you're firing long in a squeeze. Things are still pretty bullish. You still have some more upside here. Amazon's up today, and Tesla also, is up today, and those are both up. Those have both been really leading the markets for a bit. Outside of Apple, Tesla's number 1 today, Apple's number 2 on the day, Google number 3 on the day as far as the upside moves go. But I still think we might be getting to a spot here where we need to take a little bit of a break. On communications, that's going to be a little bit more of your Meta and Google. Those are still very strong, but you are getting, again, overbought. You're popping up against this 3 ATR line. We're not over it, but we just keep riding it higher, getting more and more overbought on this. I just think we need to, at some point here, if we're going to have to take a break, come back down to either the 21 or this uptrend line. But PSR, we're not near reversing yet. So until we come back down into here, still strong. Financials have had a nice little recovery last couple of days or so. They're really getting tight in this triangle pattern here, going to break one way or the other. On the weekly, you've seen a reversal. We're moving higher on everything. Stochastic momentum, higher on the squeeze reversal, and you're moving higher on MACD. Not to, and we have not had a PSR reversal yet. So we're just moving higher piece by piece on this, building a pretty good base here. We broke through the 21 EMA here on the daily. So I think we have quite a bit more to run. So if financials get running and keep running a bit more, that's going to take the market higher. And that's also going to take that IWM higher, as we talked about. And then on energy, we'll talk a couple quick more sectors. Energy here has just been weak for several months here, dating back to November of last year. Maybe finding a base in here. Had a good reversal today, PSR reversal signal today. It's above the 21 EMA. Look at MACD, getting stronger. So it looks like momentum is starting to head back into energy here. So we'll keep an eye on how energy does in here. XLV. So as we take a look at XLV, this is really where I think there's some interesting trades in healthcare. In XLV, when you look at XLV, healthcare, UNH, J&J, Lilly, Merck, Abbott, AbbVie, a handful of those. So I think you've got some good opportunities that are coming up in healthcare here. It's made a nice little turn on the stochastic momentum. You're starting to get a positive on the squeeze. MACD potentially on the weeklies, but on the daily, you got a PSR reversal, MACD positive signal today, reversal on squeeze, and stochastic momentum heading higher. So I think you could and you're breaking through the 200, the 50, and the 21 EMAs all in a day here. So I think healthcare, good opportunities to get long. So let's take a look at some stocks. Amazon, we touched on hitting above that ATR, 3 ATR line. So again, a little bit overdone, but has had a good run as of lately. Could have a little bit more to go. I mean, maybe we'll put some targets here at this 50% retracement of the main move here, right around 134. So I don't know if we'll hit that before we reverse, but maybe that 130 range somewhere in here. I think we might get a little heavy on Amazon. I'm just not ready to do anything here. It doesn't mean we can't go higher. And if you want to put, some trades on, to me, this is a butterfly type of trade because I don't want to put spreads on something that's this far away from its 21 EMA and support levels because I think you can come down pretty good. So I would do a low risk, high reward trade like a butterfly on Amazon. Same thing with Apple. It's above the ATR today. I think it's just getting too far. Weeklies have already been reversing and in momentum, even though it's going higher. So we've got some serious divergence opportunities here. Doesn't mean Apple doesn't go higher, but I think we're getting a bit overextended on Apple. We're also getting a bit overdone on Microsoft. It's just riding this 3 ATR line here. I think, something that I wanted to point out as well, back on QQQ, look at the weekly, and I made comments in a group yesterday on this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe, who knows, but 6 weeks of an uptrend. That's only happened one time, and I think it was back in here. We'd have to go back, but I've only seen it once in the last 3 years. So when you get this far, this many weeks in a row, we're due for a pullback. It could be 1 week, could be a multi-week pullback. But when you've got 6 up weeks, 6 up candles in a row, that's pretty overdone. Looking at Meta, this is getting very overdone on here. MACD maybe starting to reverse here. Again, I just don't want to do anything in any of these big cap tech trades. I really just don't like them a whole lot. The only one I do like is I do like NVIDIA, and I like NVIDIA for the opposite reasons. Is well, maybe not an opposite reason. These still could potentially run higher. NVIDIA, I think, is a good bear call spread opportunity. It's risk-defined trade. You're well above the 3 ATR. Huge moves up in here, overextended a bit. I'm not saying NVIDIA is going back down, to 200 or something, but I don't think a pullback to 340 would be out of the question, or somewhere 350, somewhere in here, coming back to this 21 EMA, which it seems to always like to keep hitting every time it moves. And you're well above this, so you're oversold. So I just think a bear call spread here. Kathy, I know you're on this call too. Kathy Valentine suggested a strangle, which is not a bad trade on NVIDIA here either. I almost like that better than my trade, which was a bear call spread on NVIDIA, because I think you still are going to get some pullback, but then I think NVIDIA is still strong and could continue to move higher. So I think a strangle here on NVIDIA is not a bad idea. Kathy, I know you had an idea. You don't have to pop it in here, but I don't remember how far out you went. But even if it was 46 or 74 days out on NVIDIA, you can get pretty good distances away. Maybe something in that 290 to I don't know, 290 to 560 range, and you can get a pretty good opportunity here. I'm looking at a potential strangle on this thing. If you did 74 days on, that might be too far out. Kathy, I don't remember what you did, but even if you did something around the 300 to 530 range or something, 46 days out, I mean, you're taking in $3.10 or so on a 3,800, 3,900 trade. So in 46 days, that's almost a 10%. Obviously, we'll close at about 50%. So that 5% in 46 days is not a bad thing if we can close it in half that time. So I think a strangle on NVIDIA, really good opportunity in here. And I think if that lower strike is at least around 300 or so, that's this 50 EMA. I think that's a great spot. I think you get good support in here at 320 anyway, and I think 340 could even hold. So I think an NVIDIA strangle is a really good play on this. I think Tesla looks really good here. It is getting overdone. It's well above this resistance area. It was support, then it became resistance and resistance again, and now you're breaking through that resistance here today. So we're getting this little breakout up here, heading higher. How much higher can Tesla go? I don't know. Without a pullback, I still think you got to get a pullback at some point in some of these tech stocks here. So I'm a little hesitant on Tesla, although I do think it could potentially run more than some of the others. Right now, it looks strong, but we'll see what happens. All right, so let's take a quick look at some idea trades I have. We're getting close to 30 minutes, but I'll stick in this. Estee Lauder, there's some news on this morning that came out, and this thing had a pretty significant gap down a couple weeks ago. Again, you've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row down. Okay, so again, to me, 6 weeks is a pretty good area, and it came right back down into this previous support area here, and that's where we're hanging out, trying to reverse on this. So you've got this gap to fill from 210, 209, 74 and higher. I think we're going to try to make a run at that at some point here. Look at squeeze has completely reversed. Way back here, you had reversals, even though we kept going further down. But I think finally you're starting to see some of the fruits of that base building in here. I would, not go crazy here, but I certainly think a put spread is probably a pretty doable trade here on Estee Lauder. So I do like Estee Lauder here as a trade. I also do like Target for a similar reason. I think Target is more of a political issue, obviously, than it is an earnings issue right now. I think it got I don't know if it was a downgrade or something this morning, along with Estee Lauder. I think Target and Estee Lauder were two stocks in the news. I think you're basing out here. You've had a squeeze fire. It's getting long. MACD's already starting to reverse a bit. Again, I don't want to catch a falling knife in here. And I think we could have a little more downside to go, but I think we start to create a base in here. I wouldn't be opposed to putting on some kind of a put spread in Target, being as far oversold beyond this 3 ATR range as it is. I think it's got to mean revert at some point back into that range. Doesn't stay out of that too long. So I think Target's another opportunity. All right, so coin. You know what? Let's jump down to Bitcoin here a tad and just take a quick look. Bitcoin, been in this downtrend. Now you've got, this, descending wedge or falling wedge here a bit more recently. You could probably even clean this up to something along the lines of this. I think that's really bodes well. So this descending wedge pattern that we've got going on in here, I think this looks ripe for a move higher. Stochastic momentum, it's been flat, really not giving it anything, but MACD trying to make a move. We're down today. We would have liked to have seen some follow through on Bitcoin today, but that being said, I still think it looks decent, and I think let's see what happens in the next day or so. I want to get back up above this 21 EMA, but I'm looking at MicroStrategy here as a good way to play Bitcoin, or Bitcoin itself. Or if you even want, I think Ethereum looks even better here. Squeeze is starting to fire a squeeze buy, even though MACD is a little weak today. It's been moving higher, and you've got the MACD actually moving above the 0 line right here, probably 4 trading days ago, as it also is moving above the 21 EMA. So I think you've got really good opportunity for Ethereum to move higher. So that's going to bring me to another play that I like here, which is coin. So I like coin in here. It's flipping over a little today because you got some weakness in it. It's in a squeeze, and you've got MACD just starting to break above that 0 line. So I think, if this thing comes down, bounces off of this 60 or this uptrend line that you had, because this downtrend line here has now been broken, so that's kind of gone. So you've got this wedge in here. We tried to break through this resistance, couldn't quite do it from a sustained standpoint. So it's still, to me, still very viable. Let's see if we can bounce off this trend line or the 21 EMA and make a move higher. We'll be watching coin for a new trade in here. Right now, I do have a butterfly trade on coin. That thing is up 48% in 6 days right now. So we've had a good run on coin into here. We're just seeing a little bit of a weakness today. Next stock to take a quick look at, Disney. So Disney's been in this, again, downtrend, holding on to some of this support area down here. On it might be even better to draw it a little differently here, give it a little bit more room. But so you've got this support range down in here. We did break through it a bit as we try to bounce along this 3 ATR move. But I think, this is a good area here. You've got MACD cranking positive on the histogram piece, squeeze changing, and then stochastic momentum pointing higher. It's off today, okay, but everything's had such a solid run up that I think Disney, if it can break through this line, you're right at this PSR reversals here. You can see that these are sitting right here at What about 91.35? We almost did it. We didn't do it today. We sold off. I'm going to wait for this PSR reversal. If we hit that, then I'm going to be a little bit more bullish, and I'll probably put in some kind of a put spread on Disney, or maybe a leap trade on Disney. UNH. So we talked earlier about healthcare. I think UNH looks good in here. The weekly looks really nice. I'll take this piece off. The weekly looks nice, breaking through the 21 and 50 EMAs on the weekly. Stochastic momentum, squeeze, MACD, all nice and positive on the weekly. So let's go to the daily here. And you've got squeeze, it in a squeeze, moving positive, MACD positive, stochastic momentum rising higher. You're moving up about the 200 now. So everything's looking good, but what I really like here is that the MACD crossing the 0 line, maybe Friday, but mostly today. So I think UNH looks really good here to ride this thing higher. I will probably be putting a UNH, maybe a butterfly trade or something on UNH. Let's also take a look at ROKU in here. I think, you've been basing for many weeks on ROKU, just dead, doing nothing. It's flatlined a bit, but now we take a look over here on the daily, and I'm seeing again MACD breaking through the 0 line, MACD moving positive in a squeeze, firing positive, stochastic momentum up. So I think we have some room to go. I think at least until we hit the 3 ATR or so. So you have a couple more points to go on ROKU. Let's see where I can run to here, if it can hold this move and keep moving higher. I do like ROKU. JP Morgan looks good on this triangle. You get a breakout potentially coming on this. I think it looks good on the daily. Squeeze, potentially firing, MACD firing, moving higher. Again, some weakness today, and I think everything's a bit weak today. The markets are pretty flat. I think S&P's up a whole $4. So really not doing much of anything today. I think we just need to rest today. So I do like JP Morgan in here. I'm also partial to PayPal down in here. I think it's hit some lows on the weeklies. Definitely some new areas here, breaking through previous support levels on this. However, I think it's overdone, hitting this 3 ATR. It's already made somewhat of a move here, but I think you can play PayPal for a move higher here as financials continue to strengthen. I think PayPal lumps in there with them as well. So I do like PayPal, and I like Square as well here. Very similar looking chart. MACD is moving higher. You've got the MACD also moving through the 0 line today, which is really a strong looking move. Squeeze firing, stochastic momentum moving higher, weeklies moving higher. So everything is lined up for Square to move here a bit. So I think Square, PayPal. I also like Schwab in here as well. The weekly definitely been recovering on this particular one. I think we're close to a PSR reversal on the weekly, breaking through this downtrend that we've had on this, and just inching its way, slowly moving its way higher as we move. So I think it's just creating a nice base to move from here. I think you can move higher, and I think with the MACD breaking through the 0 line back here, I think we have some upside to go. So I do like Schwab in there with those as well. I think that's pretty much covered most of the stuff that we've been looking at. So Atcore, so Bhavesh asked for this one. I'm not familiar with this stock, but on the weekly here, you've got potentially some momentum swinging from the lows. Yeah, I would do leaps on Schwab 100%. in here. I've been doing them, and we've already closed some winners on Leaps and Schwab, and I don't think we're done. So yeah, I would absolutely, Raj, look at Leaps and Schwab. So at this at core here, looks like a reversal on MACD, stochastic momentum on the weeklies. I think you could get a PSAR reversal signal here as soon as we hit this, which is somewhere right around, what, 128, 129. We're at the 125 or so today. You know, in a squeeze, moving higher, MACD, stochastic momentum, all good looking stuff here. So I think we could definitely run this one up at core. Again, I don't know enough about it or know enough about the liquidity and the options, but I certainly think 135, 136 is a really good target. You're going to have some, you know, a little bit of resistance in here, but not a ton. But I think if we can break through this 134, you've got some really good upside and something to take a look at. Let's take a look at just the weekly on the, you're in a MOBO selling right now, but you're getting ready to break through that. And if this thing gets moving, so you're on a little bit of a heavy volume area right in here, about 125, this shelf. If we break through this, I mean, there's lighter volume all the way up to that 140 mark in here. So if this gets going, I think you could see some move on this one. So yeah, nice little, good little pick in there on that. And then just looking at one of my scans, which is a MACD crossover scan here. I'm just looking for where's MACD crossing the zero line. Baidu is one, which looks good in here. So I think Baidu looks good on it. Chewy here, also looking decent here. And so it's breaking through on that, the MACD through the zero line. I think this looks good too. So I think Chewy looks good. Don't know about CVE. I do not know that stock. Annaly here looking decent, but Qualcomm also looking decent, but could be rolling over. I think that whole semiconductor area. Square does fall on this one, and so does UNH. So I think Square, I think UNH, I think Baidu, I think Chewy, all good opportunities. So hopefully I gave you a bunch of different stocks you guys can look at today. Let's look at one more. So Enphase is one that we've had on for a while. I've got a couple butterflies working in this. I'm down a tad on it right now as this thing's sputtering a bit, but trying to get through this, chew through this, was support, then it was resistance. So now this whole resistance area here, it's really struggling with it. However, you've got MACD about to cross the zero line. You've got MACD rising. You've got us in a squeeze firing now today. You are oversold on stochastic momentum, but also the weeklies look really good on Enphase. So I think Enphase has got more to run. And if I'm looking at the weekly in here, you know, we're sitting down at all this volume. Let me look at a 1 year. I want to go to 2 years. Let's look at a 1 year, see what this thing looks like. But you've got a lot of volume to have to chew through here. So it's going to struggle, but if it keeps moving up, you know, into here, you know, then I think you've got some ability to move higher. But I think some gravitas or gravitation to this 209 level here that it may want to get back to. So I think if it tries to get back to this volume profile point of control there about 209, and that would really pay off up in here for you, which is you've also got this giant gap, and I think you're going to want to fill this gap, which goes right to that, you know, a little past that 209 to right around that 214 here. So I think Enphase, I'm going to really keep an eye on this thing. It's, you know, taking a little breather after this nice run, but I think whether it comes back down here and bounces, I think filling this gap is a really good opportunity on Enphase. So I think that would be something to take a look at. All right, Bhavesh, another one. Let's look at one more, and then I get a run. So I do not know. You're talking shock wave. So yeah, so shock wave in here. Don't know shock wave well, but tipping over on the weeklies. So I think it's had a pretty solid run and starting to tip over momentum wise on the weekly. On the daily though, still has some upside momentum. Looks like it could be moving higher. It's in a squeeze right now. So yeah, I think there's opportunity here. I think I would want to see this PSAR signal knocked out. So I think if we break this 294 area here, then yeah, I think we could run up, definitely run up to 318 or so. Here, there's really not a lot of stuff to chew through. And if we're looking at this, you're right at this top of this heavy volume area. So there's not a lot above it. I don't know if we have to take out an extra year, but there's really not much above this. So you've got the heavy volume right in here at this area we just broke through, and then lighter volume ahead. So yeah, I think Shockwave could give you an opportunity to move to the upside on it. So some good opportunities, some trades in there. I think I gave you guys a lot of ideas out there. We'll be putting some of these trades on today. All right, hopefully this was helpful to you. Got a chance to see the markets, many sectors. We went through a bunch of different stocks to see what's happening. I do again like the Square, UNH, Chewy, Baidu areas in here. Coin is also coming up on my was coming up on my scan for a 21 EMA cross, so it's right at that spot, as well as DocuSign is right at that spot. But I think we're getting toppy on DocuSign, so that's it. And then on the oversolds, nothing that gets me too excited on any of these. I certainly don't want to hit bud at this point in time. I'm not going to catch the falling knife on that. All right, Z, one more, last one. Okay, so let's take a look at Zillow. Zillow on the weekly, nothing happening. It's in a squeeze, but on the daily, you're in a squeeze, moving higher. MACD starting to separate a bit more. So yeah, I think you got some upside potential on this, at least up to maybe 48 or so on Zillow. So opportunity on Zillow. And then Airbnb had made a really good move here. It's overdone. So this pullback today is really helpful to this 21. I think I would keep an eye on this thing as well. Potentially some leaps on Airbnb, especially we started to pull back, didn't, reversed a bit higher on the day. This might be something to take a look at. All right, guys, I got to run. Hopefully this was helpful to you. We'll post this video up on the channel and on YouTube and in our Discord group. If you got any additional questions, you can certainly send them to me either through Discord or through YouTube channel. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you this afternoon.